Or who's the 2000 players that would dominate now? Carmelo Anthony. That's
yeah, man, the way he was able to shoot later in his career and how he adjusted his game,
it was fun.
That was awesome, right?
Imagine seeing him in today's NBA.
Right, a young Carmelo Anthony.
I just don't think he has it anymore.
Should any team want Carmelo Anthony?
Blasphemous.
Yes, sir, Carmelo.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Control the Narrative, a podcast where we control the narrative that the media creates. If you're new around here, subscribe to catch our weekly podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. And if you're a returner, a subscriber, or better yet, a Control the Narrative member, we appreciate you as always, but we appreciate the members a little bit more, as I say every single episode. It's April 10th. The regular season is officially over, which means Carmelo Anthony can no longer sign to an NBA team, and he hasn't signed to an NBA team. I've had Woj notifications on my phone since June of last year, waiting for the one tweet notification that said the blank are signing Carmelo Anthony. And I got hundreds and hundreds, and Shams notifications as well. I got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tweet notifications letting me know that Kyle Anderson isn't going to be playing tonight due to an ankle injury, letting me know that the Knicks are signing a guy from the G League on a two-way contract, letting me know that this guy has been suspended a game and all these types of things. And disabling those notifications was one of the toughest and best, in a weird way, things I've ever done in my life, just knowing how many notifications I got. Anyway, Carmelo's not in the league. It's official that he will not be playing in the 2022-2023 NBA season. As of last night, midnight, we're recording this on the 10th on a Monday. So we brought on a couple control vets to come and join the show and try to make sense of this all. So, Evan, top right, how are you doing?
Not doing great, Steve. Not doing great.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Me neither. And then we got Sean on the bottom, decked out in the Yankee game and the Yankee gear. Sean, how are you feeling?
Bittersweet, you know.
Yeah, that's a great word.
Tough. It's tough.
It's a great word.
But how about you?
I was just going to say, if anybody's watching or listening to this and can hear by the tone, I think it's pretty easy to know how we it's pretty obvious to know how we feel about Melo's career and things like that. Bittersweet and things like that. And let's kick it off right now. Evan, I just mentioned it. Melo's not playing this season. It's the first full season he's missed since 2002, obviously. He was in college at the time, 02-03. In Houston, he obviously played those 10 games and didn't play the rest of that season. But this is the first full season of NBA basketball that any of us have really watched fully without Melo being in the league. So we posted on Instagram that it's official that Melo won't be playing. And we commented, what do you think Melo's future looks like now after another involuntary year off? And the god himself, Carmelo Anthony, actually commented and said in all caps, bright as hell, with the laughing emoji. So that was cool as hell to see. And my question to you, Evan, is what do you think his bright as hell future holds now that we know he's not playing basketball this season?
Well, right off the bat, it's unrelated to basketball, or at least his professional career. It doesn't make logical sense for it to be associated with his career because, like we said, it's April 10th. We're in between the regular season playoffs, and we know he's done for the year. Why would he be talking about a bright future of professional basketball in this circumstance? So I think just to control that narrative for any no offense to the optimists out in the world, I'm not one of them. And in this sense, in a Carmelo NBA fan sense, because we've just seen the last 5 years. Anyways, it's not about him coming back to the league. I'm not saying he has no chance to come back to the league, but this is not what he's talking about. But we know he has all these business ventures. We know the Stay Mellow merch line, and we know his investments in other pro sports teams. And now I'm forgetting off the top of my head. I know he just joined with some other celebrity in an investment. I don't know. Do you know what it is? Say it again. We couldn't hear you.
Probably because I'm on mute. The producer.
Yeah.
They've joined the stage musical The Harder They Come. Him and his business partner Asani
Yeah.
as
Okay.
executive producers to
So
a musical.
I think, with all power to him, he's talking about his he knows what he's doing. I think he's accepted his future a lot more than we have, because we're working with limited information. We rely on tweets and cryptic Instagram posts, and Chris Brickley occasionally posting a video of him shooting threes, which we have not seen in months, by the way. But he knows, believe it or not, he knows his life better than we do. And so that's what I think it means. I think it means that he's very, if it were to end today, which we could all agree it probably will, he's content with it.
Yep. Sean, do you agree?
Oh, absolutely, man. And let's talk about that clapback he had for that troll on the Instagram. Y'all better start playing with Melo, because he be watching, you know? He definitely
What
be
clapback?
watching. And his clapback game he be cracking and serving on people and stuff. Hilarious. But yeah, definitely can occur with everything Evan said, man. He said everything that I wanted to say in that question. And I'll just add this, you know, he has a bright future because, you know, other than related to basketball, which he's, you know, not talking about, he's just talking about life in general, you know, mentoring his son. That's always been probably one of the biggest things on his bucket list personally.
Yep.
You know, that he wants to do. You know, I just saw Cayenne caught a body on somebody, two-hand boy, you know, just like Melo, his famous two-hand don'ts, you know. So, you know, Melo's happy doing that. He's content. He's at peace, you know. I just feel like, you know, we should be doing the same thing. But like you said, Evan, we're just working with, you know, limited information, you know, from his camp and everything else. So it's, you know, it is what it is, you know, like I've been saying. I actually came to grips with this for probably a month and a half now. You know, I've been like, just accepting that. I've been like, I guess, you know, my optimism and, you know, me being so optimistic kind of ran out of gas. And I'm tapped, you know. And look, Melo is happy. I'm happy. You know, it was a hell of a career. I can tell you that.
Yeah. And we'll get into, you know, our thoughts on how it ended and things like that in a minute. But yeah, I think both of you are spot on. It's hard as a fan, right, to detach from that emotional connection that we have with seeing this dude throw a basketball around. Like, it's crazy how we're just like, no, we want to see that. We want to see that. And it's hard to take a step back and be like, bro, this guy has a lot of different priorities in his life. Like Sean, you just mentioned, his son is in high school, and he's been telling his son for years now that once he gets into high school, Melo's going to be there for him. You know, Evan, you mentioned his businesses. When we talk about NBA players, a lot of them, when they retire, they, you know, continue that lavish lifestyle and they keep spending money and they don't really have another way to generate it. And Melo is as well equipped to deal with post-basketball and his post-basketball career as pretty much anyone that I've seen in a minute. Obviously, you know, you have the guys like LeBron and Curry who they're set for life and things like that. But Melo has his merch, his wine. He's executive producing things. He's working in the NFT world. So he has 8,000 different things that he's keeping himself busy with. And, you know, I think the most important, Sean, again, to your point, is his son, Cayenne. And when he comments something like that and said, bright as hell, like 2,000%, man, this guy, he's a smart dude. When he came to New York, he really picked up a lot of different things in terms of investments and, you know, business opportunities that they didn't really have out in Denver. So, yeah, he does have a bright future, obviously, outside of basketball. And I don't think he meant basketball. I hope he does. Like, I hope there's something that we don't know. Like, yo, the Knicks are going to trade Obi, even though I love Obi, and Melo's going to fill that backup four behind Julius Randle or whatever the fuck the case is. But in reality, it's probably outside of basketball. And, Sean, to your point of if he's happy, then we have to be happy. Like, this dude brought us how many years? 19 years of happiness for the most part, except, when his teammates had anything to do with it, of basketball. And, like, bro, that's cool. And again, I don't want to get too much into like how we feel about how it ended and shit, but yeah, man, his future with all the shit that he has going on, like, it's awesome that he's gonna finally have time to really settle down and spend time with his son and all of his business shit. But yeah, it's just bittersweet because it's like, bro, this is not how it was supposed to end. So Sean, I'll kick it back to you on this one. Yo, sorry to interrupt you if you're watching this on YouTube or listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, but just wanted to let you know that we sell merch here at Control the Narrative. We got everything from t-shirts, like I got this Pixel Melo t-shirt right next to me. Then we got this Melo Knicks wrap tee that we saw. This was a bestseller, as you can imagine. We got hoodies. We got new era snapbacks. We got champion beanies. We got a lot of heat on the site for only Melo fans, only those people who control narratives. Shop CTRLthenarrative.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead to the description. You'll see the link there. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, just type it in, shop CTRLthenarrative.com. A bunch of heat. We're always dropping shit. So go check it out. I'm sure you'll find something you like. And now let's get back to the show. When we think about the end of Melo's career, so that's like, let's look at it, after New York, because that was really, he was still in his prime for the most part. He was still an all-star every year in New York and things like that. But when you think about his career, OKC, Houston, Portland, LA, what are your thoughts on how it ended? Do you feel like, again, obviously we all wanted that farewell tour and things like that, but do you think it was a good ending for the most part in the way that he was able to bounce back? Are you, did it leave a bad taste in your mouth? Like, how do you feel about if his career were to end right now? How it ended?
I'll say it ended fucked up. It was bad, It seemed like he had something in, Portland, and for me, when it comes down, to his last few years in the league, I just feel like it comes down to choices. And I personally felt like maybe he didn't make the right choices. I've actually thought about that. I've been thinking about that for a while now. And
I think we know that for a fact.
Yeah, just teaming up with certain players, going over here, going over there, chasing over there. Should you
say it, Sean LeBron, right?
Yeah. But he should have never been doing that. And I don't mind him like choosing, but I just feel like the places he chose wasn't good. And that's why I feel like this ended fucked up, because, Houston cut him after a certain amount of games. Disrespect. You got the Lakers, the 1 year, like I said, Portland was a nice run. It was a nice little run there. Maybe he should have stayed there longer. I don't know where. I forgot.
They didn't call him.
Oh, well. I don't know. Maybe there's other teams, or maybe he could have went back to the Knicks or something. I don't know. I don't like the way his career ended. It's just like it's like a void, that we're still missing, because we know like what this man can still do on the basketball court, but it's like that void, and it's like empty because even that Melo being 38 and being at an older age, his game was just like so pure. It's like he's like a basketball god, especially on the offensive end. Like, just watching his craft, everything he does is just like so perfect. It's like perfection and the evolution of it. And he always had a beautiful jumper since college. And it's just like progress, and just everything, in my opinion. Yes, his athleticism go down. Who athleticism don't go down, only very, very few people like LeBron James, unfortunately. But anyway, yeah, his game is just so beautiful, man. It's just like, dag, like we're not gonna be able to see that no more. What he can still do, just being that clutch player, bullying people, just doing amazing shit on the basketball court. Like we've been like accustomed to seeing, like, and we're not crazy fans. We're just like, we're realists, we know and acknowledge that this man's game is just like a god at this point, and yeah, That's all.
Man, in New York, when he really developed that jumper, like when he started becoming elite with that, it really, in a lot of people's minds, made people think this dude is going to be able to play till however long he wants. Like he's going to be able to be effective. He has the post moves. He could be a spot up shooter. Absolute worst case scenario, like they made him in LA, and here we are, where he couldn't get on
Well,
a
those are
team.
two different things. He can be effective for as long as he wants, but he cannot play for as long as he wants because we all know that he was one of the best bench players, a top 3 bench player in the league last year.
Yeah,
Him not playing for any casuals out there is not a sentiment that it could not be effective this year. And I think
correct.
this experience, I mean, it's also coincided with me getting older and smarter. But when you're a kid, you watch ESPN and you just like, that's the basketball, or just like any NBA TV, all those things. Those are the basketball authorities in your head. You're like, why would you question that? They're reporting it like they know what's going on, and then even above that, the GM, the teams themselves, the GMs. How could you, as a 12-year-old fan, 15, whatever you are, just some person on the couch, how could you even know a sliver of what they know? And then I learned that they're literally just like, they're idiots. They follow. I hate this word. I just hate, but they're literally sheep. they follow. They herd into narratives, and like again, I'm specifically wearing my Blazers jersey today because I'm trying to be at least thankful that we got that, because I think any Melo fan might forget that like we could also there's a real universe out there in which he was forced to retire in 2018, which is
Yep.
just crazy to think about for a top 10 scorer of all time to be forced out at 34 or 35. But no, so I'm saying there's at the time that Damian Lillard and the Blazers picked him up, I'd say over 50. I mean, like the Max Kellerman shit, 50% of NBA fans at least would say with such certainty, that Carmelo Anthony could not be effective in the NBA.
Yeah.
Right.
With such disgust for people like us that argued otherwise. And then, go into the bullshit analytics, advanced
They were
stat.
saying he was washed.
Yeah. And then you see he gets picked up. And he essentially is the reason that Portland makes the playoffs in 2020. And it just shows you, like, none of this, you don't need to respect these stupid talking heads on TV. They don't know more than you. Like, you can have your own opinion, and you have just as valid as opinion whether you're on TV making millions of dollars to state that opinion or not.
Well said. So, Evan, real quick, because I want to get your thoughts on how it ended. Is what that you're grateful, like?
Well, I guess today, over the past year, I've been really, I guess the word is resentful, because I was just like, it's not about the time. Like, if he were to retire on his own terms, we'd be equally not getting, like, if he retired a year ago, we'd equally not have this season. But just the idea of that it's from the world telling him that he can't do it and subjecting their incorrect opinions onto us as fans, that's just so, like, I just have this feeling of like being robbed, and like, so that, and then again, that's where I get into the Blazer stuff. I try to be thankful that, like, I mean, even the second year in Portland kind of sucked, how they just shut it again for no reason. The bench and Rocco because of defensive narratives, Derek Jones Jr. It's all just, I have such little respect for, I don't know, humans. I don't know, but and then the Lakers bullshit. But I don't know. I just had, so I think it might have been the comparison, like the relative of like thinking that he might be done to the Portland year, because obviously like in 2013 and stuff like that, like that's like obviously his prime and everything. But I think from like where it started to where it went, the 2020 season might have been the most fun I ever had as a Carmelo fan, because it was just like so much like thankfulness and joy, like the opposite feeling I have now of like being robbed. It was like I felt like I was being like given something, even though it shouldn't have been that way. That's what it felt like. So I guess at the end of the day, we come to a middle ground. And the last thing I do want to add, to Sean's point and your point too about the choices, I think it's an easier said, like it's easier to make that argument because at the end of the day, there's many more wrong choices than there are right choices. It's not
Correct.
like he's picking a marble out of 10 in a bag and one of them is like the wrong one and he keeps picking the wrong, like there are many more bad scenarios. The idea that a post 35-year-old is going to pick a place that, like with the narrative set against him, is going to pick a destination that nurtures his career, like I think most avenues were going south
Fair.
because of what we know, not because it should have, just because like
Yeah.
if Houston if Houston has the audacity to cut a former all-star like 1 year removed, how do we know that another team doesn't? That's my point. It's like, why do we have faith in these counterfactuals we didn't experience?
I mean, he was experiencing all this stuff though in New York as well. You know, like look how Phil Jackson and that whole management let that play out. I mean, their superstar Carmelo Anthony, you know, and Phil Jackson is just shitting all over him. You know what I mean?
While he's on the team, like I think we forget how absurd that was. He was wasn't he tweeting about Carmelo as he was on his team?
Yeah, I don't know.
Going on like Fox Sports, be like, yeah, you know, he holds the ball too long.
No, the fucking jaguar, like the leopard spots,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, man.
when has
It's
that ever happened.
what?
When has an executive ever like shit talked their own and like not someone who's behaving not even well, but like extraordinary? Like if you're just talking strictly behavior, like how he handled the New York media for 5 years, 6 years.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just like got angry about that for no reason. I just
Dude, I think it's a lot of similar themes where, you know, if this is then, I think when I asked the question, I was like, you know, how do you feel about how it ended? Obviously, we don't know 100%, but from what we know right now, the odds that he'll sit out a season at 38 and then come back at 39, slim. But who knows? Maybe we're wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But at the end of the day, it's just so many mixed feelings because, Evan, to your point, we could have seen the last of him in 2018 after 10 games in Houston. And can you imagine the story ending like that, where he's an all-star every year in New York, he goes to OKC. He had a bad year in OKC. He was not set up for success, obviously, but it was his worst season of his career. And then he goes to Houston, and then after 10 games, he didn't play great. Like we're not sitting here being like, no, this guy was the best player on the team. He didn't play great. He had a couple of really good games, but you know, for him to land in OKC, have that year, and then start the season out like he did in Houston again. There was guys on the team like Eric Gordon who were way worse than Melo, but obviously Melo is just the easy scapegoat. And for it to end like that, that would have been really, 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 really tough as a Melo fan to just be like, all right, this is how it ended. But then obviously the Portland year and that kind of, you know, we went from like, we might never see this dude play again to all the way up here where he's hitting clutch shots in the final games of the season and in the playoffs and shit like that. But then on the other end, I think, you know, the void. I think Sean, you talked about the void of like if you feel like something's missing. And for me, when I think about that, I think about the fact that when Melo signed with the Lakers last year, everybody thought, damn, the Lakers they're the title favorite. Like they are going to be in the finals and it's just a matter of whether they can win it. Everybody thought that. Obviously there was some concerns and doubt, but there was a lot of people who thought at the very least the Lakers are going to be contenders. And then obviously they don't even make the playoffs. But for us not to have him, and you know, for us, like this is kind of like being selfish, but to see him as a fan of his for almost 20 years, to not have that final season where he rides off after winning a championship or rides off after a farewell season in blue and orange. Like, I thought we were going to get at least one of them. I was just like, all right, cool. If he goes to the Lakers and wins, like, he might retire after that. All right, cool. If he goes to the Lakers and doesn't win, he'll have a farewell season in New York. Like, they'll do that for him. His old agent is the president of the Knicks now. Like, they'll do that for him. So to not have either of those as a fan of his for almost 20 years, I feel like that's where my void is. But at the end of the day, for us to even have these last few seasons, as frustrating as they were in LA and as frustrating as they were in Portland the second year, and as frustrating as they were, in Houston and OKC and all that, there were some cool moments there. And like, look at this shit. Like, we've been talking about Melo, us three, for how many years now, dating back to probably 2020 to the Portland, the bubble days. So, for us to do this and, be meeting up this summer and me hitting a bunch of threes over Evan's tall ass frame, like that's a cool thing that we got out of these last few years of Melo's career. So, I just think, again, mixed feelings, but I feel like right now it's probably more resentment, Evan, to your point of just like, fuck the NBA.
Yeah.
Why are they doing this shit to him again and all that? But I feel like in a few months, if he comes out and announces his retirement, or if he comes back for another year somehow, like, I feel like then I'll be able to, exhale a little and be like, all right, it was really cool that he came back and proved everyone wrong, because it was going to be a tough ass job for us, and specifically me, if he didn't come back at all. And people were just like, yeah, but he sucked in OKC and he sucked in Houston. I was gonna be like, well, OKC, like, it was gonna be hard for me. Now I could just be like, come here, let me show you some bubble highlights. So
No, I really
I went on a little,
Portland really shut a lot of people up.
100%.
2018 was like, because I feel like it's all kind of came back, like, especially with the Lakers. Like, people don't really respect Melo. We know that. But like, no, in 2018 it was like an epidemic. Like, he was thrown around, and that really saved some face, like that.
And 19 until he got signed, even before he got signed, and he won Player of the Week in the West.
I mean,
that's 2 weeks
post Hughes. Yeah.
2018-19.
Exactly.
Tough. All right. Let's talk about a highlight real quick. We have been doing a March Madness bracket, obviously a little too long. It's April 10th now, so we kind of need to wrap this up pretty quickly. But, last interruption, I promise. But if you've been listening or watching the podcast for this long, that means you probably fuck with us, which also means you'll probably fuck with all the perks you get from being a Control the Narrative member. We send our members free merch every 3 months, and it's exclusive to our members. We don't also sell this on our site. It's merch only for the members. So, for example, here's one we did. We paid homage to the 2012 Knicks Christmas Day jerseys. Also, all members always get 20% off all of our general drops forever. Like, that's not capped out. That's 20% off every single purchase on our merch website. We give our members free tickets to in-person events. We have a town hall every month. We always try to think about the members first and how we can bring value to those people. So if all this shit sounds interesting to you, go to controlthenarrative.com, click become a member, pick a tier, sign up, and we will see you in the Patreon, man. Excited for this. We have a lot of cool stuff in store for these members moving forward. So go sign up if that sounds interesting to you. And I promise, now we're back to the show for good. This could be pretty straightforward. We don't have to spend too much time on this. In the finals of this March Madness bracket is the 62-point game at Madison Square Garden versus the Syracuse championship in 2003. Evan, we'll start with you on this one. What's the better Melo moment and why?
All right, I'm going to start this off being very blunt. I was born in November 2002. Believe it or not, I was not watching the 2003 March Madness run, unfortunately. So just as a fan of basketball for the last 14 years, I'm going to give my best guess because, again, I'm not a witness. And I very much am a witness to the 62-point game, so every minute of it as it happened. But what aspiring basketball player of any skill level at a young age is, when they're thinking about their future, their unrealistic goals, who's like, my ultimate dream is to win an NCAA championship? It's not. You're thinking about the NBA. No kid is dreaming about college basketball, and it is so amazing that he had that run, and it's so great for his career because, again, we're thinking about like the two best things ever. So let's put it into perspective. I'm not trashing one. We're talking to each other. But I don't know, scoring 60, beating your idol Bernard King's record in your like technically home city's most famous arena on the earth, setting their points record ever for the team you rooted for growing up in the pros. I don't know. That checks every box for me. Unless it was it couldn't have been better unless it was like the NBA Finals. And so that's basically my reason. Like, I think you got to value the pro career over the college career.
Fair. Sean, 62 at the Garden or the Cuse chip? What is the better Melo moment in your opinion?
In my opinion, the better Melo moment was him winning the Syracuse national championship. Excuse me. You know, I get your point though, Evan. You know, 62 at the Garden. You're in the pros league. You know what I mean? Doing this on the highest level. You know, setting records and stuff, but that's just regular season. And I get it. Like, kids don't, you know, think about, you know, growing up and getting the national championship in college and stuff. But the question is more important, you know, or what was the better moment for him? I think the better moment was because of him winning a national championship at Syracuse. You know, that's a lot of grind, you know. That's a lot that goes into that. You know, just like going for a finals run, except for, you know, you got to play more games in the NBA, but you know, there's a lot of different challenges with winning the national championship, you know, and those guys you with every day, those are your brothers. And in that Syracuse documentary they put out the other day, very good documentary, by the way.
I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, I advise everybody to go watch it. But in the documentary, you know, Melo was hurt. You know, he had hella back injuries and stuff. His back would be tight and it would be real stiff and stuff. And you know, he'll tell his teammates like, you know, like, oh, man, I don't know if I can go tonight. And you know, some nights, you know, he just forgot about it and just was enjoying the moment. You know, some other moments, you know, it really was stiff, and his teammates, you know, had to carry him, you know, and pick up for what he couldn't do at the moment. And just that grind, you know, with his guys and stuff, I just think that's just more important than just setting a record, you know, at MSG, breaking, you know, Bernard King's record. You know, I just feel like, you know, Melo should be doing that, you know, like, in my opinion, that's just another game, in my opinion. It was a very good game, don't get me wrong, but I just feel like, you know, that the grind of, you know, getting the national championship, you know, everybody can't say they got one though, you know? And that just lets you know how nice Melo always been his entire career. You know, starting from youngin, not just waiting until he's adult to, you know, really play good. He was playing good since a youngin in college, you know, and was still nice even when he retired and could have played more years. But I think the Syracuse one for me.
Can I counter to that before you go, Steve?
Go for it.
A couple things I want to say. One, talking about this 10 years later, 9.5 years later, of the 62-point game, I don't know, the feeling of saying a 62-point game is so much different now. It holds so much less weight. I think we have to remember how the thing is, I don't even want to say it's like saying 80 now, because like I feel like any amount of scoring now, it doesn't even hold the same feeling because you know someone's gonna like get it the next week. But like in a year where, again, like the scoring leader, like again the year before he led the league in scoring with 28.7 points. For reference, I think there's 5 players this year averaging 31 points at least. There's a stat today that for the first time in like 30 years or 40 years, there's no team that scored under 80 in a single regular season game. Anyway, this like the inflation of stats has totally misconfigured our perception of skill in the NBA. And 62 in 2014 was like, it was like watching like the supernatural. And I think it was the highest point total since 8 years before with Kobe in 81, I'm pretty sure. And at that point, there was only a handful of NBA players to ever score 60. So I just want to add that for some context. And then also I do concede though, how you phrase this question definitely is important. Like if you want to be on the basis of what is the most important to his basketball legacy, I would agree that if you're looking at numbers, you'd rather have that NCAA title for when everyone's going to show him for not winning in the NBA. But I don't know. I just feel like in our exclusive Melo club of people who like know him, like for people that don't know him, we know him as best as you could. And we followed him as much for the last like however many years. And for all the context that was given, I just think it was more monumental than the box score that it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Can
fair.
I add one more thing? I also think
You
could
two are
argue-
carrying this one.
I just want to say something real quick. I think another one you can throw up and argue. I think far as just like moments and stuff in his career, 62-point game, win a national championship. You can also, argue that him being one of the best international players to play ever. He's got what the record in scoring for the men's Olympic team.
KD broke it.
KD passed it.
Oh, KD passed it now?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right. But still, he's arguably one of the best international players regardless.
Top two, him and KD.
Yeah, like this man is Melo is like a legend over there. And if he wanted to play overseas right now, I'm telling you, he'll be putting up these numbers they putting up in the NBA right now.
I wouldn't want it. I would not.
No, I wouldn't want it either. But I'm just saying like how easy the game would be for him if he was to play over there.
course.
It'd be easier for him in the NBA.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I'm just saying he's just a great international player, and he's one of the greatest Olympians to play. So I also like value that about his basketball career too, and that's another reason why he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer because he was a great Olympian as well.
Yeah, man. I could quickly put a bow on this one. When we talk about like again, the question is what's the better Melo moment? The reason I don't want to say that I was rooting against this was because people would think, oh, he peaked so early and like, he did this in college and didn't do shit in the NBA after. But at the end of the day, for a freshman like Melo to be doing that and, single-handedly carrying his team to the championship for the most part. Obviously, he had McNamara, who was very good at the time. He had Akeem Warwick, who ended up going to the NBA too. But Melo was the guy on that team. Only championship in Syracuse history. And really put him on the map. Like, actually put him on the map. Should have been drafted second overall. I could talk about, that alternate universe for days about what that NBA looks like.
What could have and should have happened.
I could talk about that for days.
Alternate universes with all these. I can't even take it anymore. Yeah.
Last thing on this, because my friend Chris said this, and I think it was like a perfect way to sum it up. If you took Carmelo Anthony's career and ran it back 20 times, that was probably, again, not confirming it's over or anything, but that was probably one of the worst outcomes in terms of winning. Like, that was probably one of the worst. Like, the odds that he doesn't get drafted second, and then he goes to Denver, and then there are matchups every single year where teams that were going to the finals, then he goes to New York, and then LeBron and the Big Three get formed, and then this happens, and then he goes to Houston, and then, like, all these things, like, that was – the odds of that happening, again, are slim to none. So, anyway, not to play the whole what-if game, but this is the finals of our March Madness top Carmelo Anthony moments, and I think it has to be Syracuse. He won the championship. Obviously, it wasn't at the highest level, but he won in high school. He won in college. He won in the Olympics. Did not win in the NBA so far. Have to throw that in there. But, just the way he carried his team in a tournament that a lot of people watch and a lot of people care about, it really set him up to have that success in the NBA. So I'm going to have to go Cuse.
2 against 1. I can see it.
And that's fair. Like 62 at the Garden, that was, again, one of those where were you when Melo moments. And honestly, if the 2013 scoring champ made it to this round, I probably would have voted for that, just knowing how much I enjoyed that. But I think Cuse is the right answer.
Can I have a write-in? Can I do a write-in ballot?
Let's do a write-in.
Earning the 121st MVP vote in 2013.
Yeah.
And making it a 120-1 case against LeBron and preventing him from being the first unanimous MVP. So shout out Gary.
You read my mind. Shout out Gary Washburn, former Control the Narrative guest. Great episode. If you haven't seen that episode yet and you've still been listening and watching to this podcast for this long, Go watch it right now. Just type in Gary Washburn Control the Narrative on YouTube. Great fucking episode. And, you know, he's just like, I would do it again. You know, LeBron was the best player, but Melo was most valuable. So great episode.
Actually, very similar to Joel Embiid this year. He's the scoring leader, and they had 54. They were 54 and 28. Believe it or not, I noticed. And
Embiid for MVP.
And that's what I'm saying. The narrative is Embiid's going to win it, and he was the third seed. The Knicks were the second seed. 54 wins equal scoring leader. I don't know. It seems very similar to Carmelo's season.
Weird how that happens, huh?
And Giannis would kind of be the equivalent of LeBron of being the most dominant player on the most dominant team, and he doesn't look like he's winning it. So sorry, I just wanted to throw that out there.
No, it's Joel. Joel's got it this year finally. Let's move it forward to a different type of question. You know, obviously with Melo not being in the league for this entire year, I personally have had to figure out what we're posting every day, because I could post Melo highlights forever if I really wanted to, but you know, there's only so many times I could post the Easter highlight or this highlight. So, you know, we've been posting and controlling other narratives. So Sean, we'll go back to you on this one. This one could be pretty quick because I know we're at 38 minutes and we still got another one after this. What player from the 2000s would dominate today's NBA, knowing obviously the way the game has changed and different things like that? One guy who obviously, if he was healthy and you took him from 2005 and you put him in 2023, he would have been a way more successful player in the league. Who do you think?
Man, this is a hard question. It really is. So many nice players that would dominate in today's NBA. But the first one for me that comes easily is Allen Iverson. I mean, shoot, you see how Jalen Brunson is fucking shit up right now.
Al Harrington, you said? Al Harrington?
No.
Al Jefferson.
I said AI. Allen Iverson.
Allen Iverson. Sorry,
Yeah.
my
I
bad.
think he dominated his own era.
Yeah, like
My
he
bad, go
dominated in the league of big trees all around him. Like the game is so small and soft today. This man would average 45, like around 40 points a game, 45 points a game. Like, yo, AI will be torching people. He's the first player. The second player that comes to my head is Brandon Roy. That man
That's a good one.
was so good and solid on both ends. Hell of a clutch player. I mean, he would destroy these people today too. So there's two people, you know, that I go with as far as
Great
like
answers.
dominating today's NBA from the 2000s.
Nice ones. Evan?
Well, I actually was going to say Brandon Roy too, in the spirit of my Blazers jersey, and then also I was thinking Arenas, Gilbert Arenas.
Yes. What's a good one?
I think he would have excelled, but I think, yeah. I mean, there's not much to say. Let's move on.
Wait.
All right.
The only thing about Gilbert Arenas is about that gun case. You know, would he be like a John Morant, just be, you know, showing
Exactly.
guns on social
Perfect for
media?
that.
And they didn't even have social media back in the day.
Yeah, that's another thing you got to take into account is a guy like AI, if he grew up with this social media, I don't know.
Yep.
We posted this man on Control the other day. I don't know if you guys saw, but when I thought of this question, I obviously thought who was a really good 3-point shooter in the 2000s who didn't really get enough flowers, and if he was in today's NBA, he would have went off. And I came to the conclusion of Peja Stojakovic. I hope that's how you pronounce it. This dude shot over 40% from 3 his entire career. He had seasons where he was shooting like 43 and shit like that, which is crazy. The amount of times he'd be utilized in today's NBA is sick. And he never had one season where he put up 7 threes a game. And this year, there's over 30 dudes shooting 7 threes a game. Can't speak. Let me repeat that. Peja Stojakovic had not a single season where he shot 7 threes a game, but in today's NBA, there's over 30 players who average 7 threes a game attempts. So to think about, you know, his career in terms of the amount of volume threes he'd shoot is crazy. And also another guy I wanted to quickly show love to, because I feel like people forgot about him a little, but he will definitely be posted on Control soon, is Rashard Lewis. Another stretch 4 who could shoot the lights out and I think he would fit perfectly in today's league. Like, you imagine him on a team like Golden State or, Milwaukee, just being on the side of the court. It's like, when he was in Orlando with Dwight, where they just use him as a spacer, and Milwaukee doing that with him would be insane. The
How do
amount
you
of
feel
open
about
threes.
Michael Redd?
Michael Redd, that's a great answer. All of these are great. I think all of these are on point. Like AI, like Evan said, he dominated his shit too, but he would have obviously went even crazier now. But I'm thinking of guys who like did well, but they would have been beasts in today's NBA. And Brandon Roy, he was a beast when he was healthy and shit too. But like Peja or Peja, I don't know. I think it's Peja.
Peja.
He
Monte
balled
Ellis.
out, but
Oh, yeah, Monte was a good one.
Monte Ellis, he played it.
He was a
Yes.
bucket.
Dude, Monte
He was
Ellis,
a
hell yeah.
bucket.
Hell yeah.
Or you
That
know
was
who's
a
the
good one.
2000 players that would dominate now? Carmelo Anthony. That's
Oh,
Yeah.
man, the way he was able to shoot later in his career and how he adjusted his game,
It was fun.
that was awesome, right?
Imagine seeing him in today's NBA.
Right. A young
Fucking
Carmelo
A.
Anthony. Do y'all think? That's my quick question. Do y'all think?
Anthony now is fine.
What'd you say?
I said the Carmelo Anthony now is just fine.
Oh yeah, nah, for real. But I'm just saying, like, we're talking about people that that's brought up in today's NBA of shooting threes and stuff. Yeah, young Melo would have given all these people a problem. I think personally, like, he'll be better than like a Jason Tatum, in my opinion. And people love to compare Jason Tatum and Carmelo Anthony, especially like in Jason Tatum's prime now. So
I see it. I actually really do see the comparison.
I love Tatum, man.
Yeah.
He's my favorite young player in the league. How old is he? 26 now? I don't even know if you consider him young anymore. But
I love
he's
the
one of my favorite players.
He's still only 19, so.
Yeah. All right. Last question. Let's move it on. Playoffs are starting, I think, tomorrow. There's no games today. So
Yep.
Play in?
there, cool.
Rudy Gobert will be participating.
I saw that the 10th he just punched Kyle Anderson, so he is out after they just traded how many first round picks for him. So we went to Sean first on the last one. So Evan, real quick again, finals prediction from who wins the East, finals prediction from who wins the West, and then who's going to win the finals and how many games. And we are guessing this on April 10th, 2023.
Okay. I'm going to be guessing. I think it's going to be a 2021 rematch of Phoenix and Milwaukee. I don't know. Well, I think Milwaukee runs through the East. I'm not going to lie. I mean, the Celtics are obviously very well equipped themselves, but Giannis just averaging 31, being a two-way monster, and just the support cast he has with like arguably the defensive player in the year in Brook Lopez, arguably the best perimeter defender, one of them in Drew Holiday, who's having honestly an all NBA season, Drew Holiday as well. With Chris Middleton rehabbing, getting back to himself. And then, the role players, they fit so well, like Grayson Allen and the Pat Connaughton. Like, I don't think there's a single flaw in their system. I can't imagine. I don't see why, barring injury, they shouldn't make the finals. And then, as for the West, we've only seen 6-7 games of KD Phoenix, but
They're undefeated.
they have not lost one of them.
8 games.
8? Okay, I'm sorry. So they're 8-0, albeit, I don't know, they're playing a lot of resting teams, they're playing some games because, like, the Rockets, okay. But it just fits a little too well, like Kevin Durant with Devin Booker. And, yeah, maybe they don't have the defensive talent in Mikal Bridges or the depth they had with Cam Johnson and
They
such.
fucking could have. Let me tell you something.
Oh, that's another story. But I don't know. I just think they're going to be too dominant. I'm a big Nuggets fan, and I know that's where we disagree a bit. But I believe it. If Kevin Durant hadn't been traded, I would have said Nuggets all the way. But I think it's going to be hard to compete with the scoring production of Phoenix with Chris Paul's ball movement, with the best scorer in the NBA and Kevin Durant. And then if Devin Booker's your second option for scoring, I think you're in a good position.
All right, and who wins and how many games in the finals?
I'd say Milwaukee in 6, which I think is what happened in 2021 as well. I just love how their roster construction.
All right. Sean, who you got? Let's get it on record.
I agree with Evan. Milwaukee
Wow.
coming out. Milwaukee's coming out of the East. Because of Giannis. But the only thing that cannot prevail them from getting to the finals would be injuries, like last year. Chris Middleton. I don't even know if he's healthy. Last time I've heard, he was hurt. So I don't know if he's going to be in the playoffs. Maybe not in the first round. They don't really need him. But second round and on up, he needs to be there. And I'm sorry, if they don't have Chris Middleton, I don't know if they're going to get there, because the best ability is availability. And yes, Drew Holiday's having a career year. This is so funny. Brooke Lopez is like in the finals for Defensive Player of the Year. Like,
Dude, I love his
right?
career.
Me too.
I love his career.
Talk about evolution, right? We're talking about Brooke Lopez, and
He needs flowers.
No, he do. I like Brooke Lopez. He's definitely evolved, like with the game. And then you got, they're in the bench. You got Pat playing out his mind. Bobby Portis playing good.
I didn't even mention.
They're loaded. And I like Boston. Don't get me wrong. And I definitely like Philly because of Embiid. But Boston, I feel like just don't have enough juice if the Bucks are healthy. Last year they didn't even have Chris Middleton and they took him to 7 games, I believe.
You guys are forgetting a team, man.
Last year I think Milwaukee took Celtics to 7 games. Yeah, because they had to play game 7.
You guys aren't forgetting anyone in the East?
I know them. I just don't know which one you're talking about because I don't have faith in any of them.
Philly.
No, that's what I said. I said I like Philly because Joel Embiid, but come on, James Harden playoff record. You got Maxey. He's okay, but ever since he came off his injury, he hasn't been the same. I don't trust Tobias Harris, unfortunately. Doc Rivers. I don't know. Philly got a lot of questions still be answering, but Milwaukee check all the boxes off. For the West, the Suns, simply because of Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and DeAndre Ayton and Chris Paul. That lineup is just too good for anybody. KD's too good. And like you said, Evan, if Devin Booker is your second option, good night. But in the series against Phoenix and the Bucks, I gotta go with the Bucks because I believe in Giannis. And before, I used to always doubt Giannis. It's crazy because I was never a real Giannis fan until like the year they won the finals and just watching him how he just dominated, just opposed his will. I really do believe like Giannis is the best player in the league. Even though he's not always in MVP conversations now because he's just that great. But I got Giannis and the Bucks winning in 7 games. Because
that would be a hell of a finals. Bro.
Because Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, they trying to get KD trying to get Chris Paul and D Book their first ring, so they're gonna be going at it. That's gonna be a very, very great game. So I got the Bucks winning in 7. Giannis MVP.
Back-to-back Bucks, Suns. I'm agreeing with you both on
Fun podcast.
No, on Phoenix.
Oh.
I think Phoenix is going to get in there. I don't believe in the Denver Nuggets. Paul George is out in the first round, so it's going to be Kawhi against Phoenix. I don't think he could pull that off. You have Golden State, Sacramento. Sacramento is the 3 seed. Obviously, the Warriors are pretty much just getting healthy, so can I see them making a run? Absolutely. And then you have the Lakers and the Grizzlies. I still don't believe in the Grizzlies like that. They have a lot of injuries too. So I'm going the West. There's a lot of good teams, but I feel like Phoenix at the perfect time is healthy. They're 8-0 with KD, like Sean mentioned. So I'm taking Phoenix out of the West. And when I look at the East, everything that you guys said about Milwaukee, 100% I agree with. But when I look at my Knicks and think of I saw Evan's eyes go. Well, Sean had no reaction. Everyone. No, I think Philly. I hear what you're saying about Harden in the playoffs, but he doesn't have to be that guy anymore. You can let Embiid do that. He can make a little more. There's less pressure on him. So I think Philly comes out of the East. Boston, I don't think they have enough. It's just like, they're good. Obviously, they're good, but it could be any of those three with Milwaukee. But I think it's going to be Philly. I think Embiid's just he has a lot to prove, and I feel like it's his time, and he's in his absolute peak, and it's tough to fucking stop him. And Giannis and him, it's going to be a fun matchup if they get matched up. But yeah, I'm taking Philly, and then in the finals, I wanted to pick Phoenix, but I don't think I can. I just think it's too soon. I could see them winning it next year, but right now, I don't think they could gel that quick to go up against a team like Philly. So I think Embiid is going to bring the Sixers a championship. And I think Philly is going to win it in 6 games. I just feel like once they get to that level, that Phoenix is just they're still it's too soon. Like, I don't remember the last time a team came together at the deadline and won it all, unless one of you guys could prove me wrong.
Nope.
So I think this will be great. And again, they're all vets for the most part. Even Booker, he's been in the league for how many years now? So it's not like, they're a young, inexperienced team that needs this experience. No, but I just think next year they have a more realistic chance. Philly in 6 over Phoenix.
I just want to say one thing though. I think that KD though, he's like if anybody could pull this off though, it would be KD, because he's the ultimate plug-in person. Like, in any system, anywhere, like, this dude just fits in good. Like he went to the Warriors, and you remember when everybody talking about KD got traded over there and how 1 and 2 Splash Brothers are gonna sacrifice. Clay said he wasn't gonna sacrifice shit. You know what I mean? And like, KD went over there and still was able to do his thing, be just as efficient and more efficient, and just be the best player on that team. Like, so I feel like if anybody can pull this off, it'd be KD, because he's just that ultimate plug-in.
And Chris Paul is going to make the and if there's any system you're transitioning into, like, I'm not the biggest Chris Paul fan in the world, but like, I'm not going to say it doesn't make it easier. It doesn't make it harder to be working with like an elite passing point guard. So also just about Philly and Milwaukee, I don't know. I feel like all the champions we've there's a few exceptions, but I think the NBA playoffs goes down to depth more than anything. And like, you see, like, I just don't trust what's going to happen when Joel Embiid is subbed out, and those minutes when Georges Niang and Shake Milton are trying to compete with, again, the very capable 6 men of like Bobby Portis and like Pat Connaughton of like the Bucks, and then like Malcolm Brogdon, arguably 6th man of the year in the Celtics. And the only thing about the Celtics is chemistry is another thing. I feel so uneasy about this, like all the stuff we've heard about Jaylen Brown over the past couple years, and even
he's out.
Yeah, I don't know. That's not a winning culture when you have when you just know there's like even a little bit of tension. And then I don't trust Robert Williams to stay healthy. I'm telling you, there's gonna be a playoff game where Blake Griffin fucking starts a game, and I'm gonna be really angry when that happens.
Yeah,
win that game, but it's gonna happen, I promise. But I also, even though I'm saying Philly's not gonna make it, I'm saying it for the depth reasons, and I don't agree with the.
That's why I think they will. That's why I think they will. The rotations get shortened in the playoffs.
Yeah, but you still need consistent depth.
Of course, but not as much
So you trust Philly's out there for 40 over Milwaukee's and Celtics depth? Hell,
but no. you could throw Embiid out there for 43 minutes, 44 minutes, and be straight. If it's like a game 7, you could throw him out there for over 40 minutes.
People get tired, and if you have compressed bodies, the more you have at your disposal, the better.
I'm aware.
Also, I was just gonna say though, I don't as a Carmelo fan, I want to be consistent with how we criticize other people's criticisms of Carmelo, if that makes sense. Again, like just saying I don't think the Sixers are gonna work because James Harden hasn't had success in the playoffs.
Has he had sex in the playoffs? Do you know something that we don't know?
I mean, those Houston joints he likes to go to. So, but anyways, besides the point, James Harden, like he led the league in assists this year. I think he's done a hell of a job with Sixers. And like, how would we feel about like going into a playoff series a few years ago and saying, well, I don't trust X team because Carmelo hasn't had success in the playoffs. Like, I don't think that's a fair. Like Harden.
People have done that though, so who even cares? People always done it to Carmelo.
I'm saying, yeah, and would you have agreed with that?
No, I wouldn't agree with it. But at the same time, if they're going to judge Carmelo, we're going to judge all these players that play right now. They all going to get the smoke.
Hey,
none of them is exempt.
An eye for an eye makes the world go blind. I think, and again, I think most people agree. They in 27, like if Chris Paul doesn't get injured, the whatever year 2017, I think the Rockets are going to the finals and beating the Warriors. So again, like situations matter. I'm not just gonna say that because James Harden's never been in a finals is the reason that the Sixers aren't able, because I think he's done a hell of a job in Philly.
Yeah,
that's my point.
Fair. All right, that'll do it. That was I knew I was just like, we started talking a little before I clicked record, and I was just like, nah, these questions, we're gonna be on here for a minute. Let's hop into this podcast. So Evan, Sean, always a fucking pleasure, and excited for that basketball game this summer as soon as Evan gets back from college and Sean finishes his 14-mile hike in 2 hours. So before we do that though, and before I let you guys go, you've been on here enough to know what happens now. And if you're just watching or listening to this for the first time, every time we record a podcast, we allow our guests to control a narrative. It doesn't have to be basketball related. It doesn't have to be sports related. It doesn't have to be Carmelo Anthony related. So if anybody has one, I will give you the floor to control a narrative.
Sean, you want to start or should I go?
You go ahead. You can start this.
I actually remembered this one. I didn't form the opinion during the podcast, but I wanted to say it. Again, it is April 10th, 2023. The Los Angeles Lakers are they're nowhere close to contenders. I don't care who's healthy. I don't care. They're not even going to sniff the conference finals at all. Everyone just completely is writing off Denver. I don't know if the Lakers get the 7 or 8 seed. I imagine they get one of them. I don't think they're losing 2 playing games. But if they were playing Denver in the first round, they do not stand a chance. They struggled to beat the Jazz with LeBron and AD playing in games they needed to win this last week twice. They went to overtime with the Jazz without Lauri Markkanen, without whoever their other couple best players, without like Walker Kessler. And I don't they had the easiest schedule to end the year. And I know so we could have been overly harsh on them in the beginning because they had a really hard schedule. Yeah, whatever. But they are appropriately seeded and they will be a normal 7 seed. If you maybe in a blue moon, do they take advantage of Steven Adams being out for the Memphis series and just all the shit that's happened with Memphis? I wouldn't say them beating Memphis is the craziest thing ever. And then they're not going back to beat the Kings or Warriors in the second round. So that's my narrative. The Lakers with LeBron and Anthony Davis healthy are not even close to contenders.
Evan, I hope this doesn't happen, but if they get to the finals or some shit that this is going to be clipped.
I'm begging you to. I'm signing the Go ahead.
Though, I like that though. I don't disagree. Go ahead, Sean. You got one?
All right, so since Evan was the nice one, I'm going to be the mean one.
I don't think that was nice.
I mean,
he's saying they're not coming close to winning a fucking championship.
Well,
if you think that's nice,
who was that nice to there?
It's the Lakers, though. It's the Lakers we're talking about. Like nobody. That's just the Lakers. Melo's now in there, it's whatever. They can do whatever they want. They can lose in the first round for all we get shit for. The narrative I want to control is fuck all the NBA teams that disrespected Carmelo Anthony in his career, and allowed it, and that's where I'm at with it because he had so much disrespect towards the end of his career, and I ain't like it. I ain't like none of it. And Houston cutting them, disrespect. The Lakers, and disrespect. OKC not giving him a real position and a real, input in anything. Like he would just I don't know what he's supposed to be there. Like just fuck y'all. Like fuck all the George Karl. Man, fuck you, George Karl. Just all the disrespect Melo got throughout his career. Fuck all y'all. That's what I'm at.
All right. When you said, all right, Evan's going to be nice, I'm going to be the mean one, I was like, dude, what can you possibly say that was meaner than that? But I think that was meaner than that. So,
Yeah, that checks out.
And also, all right, I want to control one narrative real quick because it's been said a few times this podcast. And it's like a thing now that this is what people say. And I know you both know this, but it's just the verbiage that's used that people forget about is that the Rockets didn't cut Melo. And people say that all the time, like they cut him after 10 games and then he was out for a year. That's not what happened. And like I know you two know this, and I'm not like, yo, Evan, Sean, like remember this shit. It's just I see it all the time. Yo, he got cut after 10 games. They told him they didn't want him on the team after 10 games, but they kept him on the roster until a few weeks before the trade deadline. And then they traded him to Chicago for the Bulls to cut him. And then he was a free agent. So it's not like he was cut after 10 games and just nobody wanted him. He was on a roster and not able to do anything because they told him, you're not playing for our team. And then it took a while for them to find a team to trade him to so that they can cut him. Or waive him, whatever it was, same shit. So that's what when people say he got cut after 10 games. He didn't get cut after 10 games. He got sent home after 10 games and then not traded for a few months after that. So he was just sitting at home on a roster, but told, hey, we don't want you on this team. So anyway, the reason I bring that up is because when people say he's been, the Rockets cut him and shit, then people are just like, oh shit, they cut him and he was just sitting there and nobody wanted him. It's like nobody could get him even if they wanted to. So anyway, just a little thing. But I know a lot of people say that in the comments and on Twitter and things like that. So anyway, long ass pod. I knew it. I knew it whenever Evan and Sean come on together that it's going to be a big one. So
Is this your longest
what?
Is this your longest ever? 1 hour and 5?
I don't think so. I think we've had some ones close to this, but after we edited and put the control commercials in it, it'll be close. And the intro and things like that. But Evan, Sean, for real, the fact that you guys come on here all the time and like want to come on here and spend we've been on the shit since 8 o'clock. So an hour, 37 minutes pretty much on this. It means a lot that you guys are always down to just hop on pods and, bullshit and help us create content. And this one, I feel like always does well whenever we post. I feel like Sean too, whenever Sean is on some shit, it usually does really, really well. So like we'll tag that and see if Evan brings Sean's views down when we post it on Instagram. But anyway, for real, appreciate you guys hyped for this basketball game. And thank you guys for hopping on.
Thank you, bro.
Of course, man.
Thank you for the opportunity, man.
And yeah, if you don't know, if this is the last, even though he didn't play this year, if this is the last podcast of his career, I just want to thank you, man, Steve, for all you know. I'm not kidding. For like all that you've done for like this community and and like we appreciate the hell out of you.
Of course, thanks, F.
Yeah,
thanks, Sean. Yeah, man.
To you, King.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate that, man. And again, it all came from a place and a situation of like, there's no way I'm the only one who thinks this. Like, there's no way I'm the only one who thinks he could play. still, and then he came back, and I was just like, wait, this dude thinks like me, and this dude thinks like me, and then we hopped in the Discord, and then this happened. So it's like, it's been almost 4 years with Control. So like, we'll see what's gonna happen. If you're still watching or listening to the pod at this point, mad respect. Please let me know, and I will send you a little something because that means a lot. And just DM us on Instagram or tweet me at CTRL Narrative, or tweet us and just be like, yo, I watched the full podcast, and I will get something out to you because that's fucking dope. But man, that's it. It's like it all stemmed from that place of there's no way I'm the only one that thinks this. And then when I started talking to other people and other people thinking, yo, I believe this shit too, then it was just like, we need to be friends. Like, we need to be friends right now. So yeah, man, we'll see what happens moving forward. But
And you're the creator of the apology form meme, the viral meme
bro,
across.
you see that shit everywhere still, right?
I cannot believe that you
Yeah.
literally created that.
Yeah, you see that shit fucking everywhere. All sports and then all that stuff. So
For real.
it's funny, man, but it's been a wild ride with this Melo thing, and hopefully it's not over. But if it is, I still have to think about how we ended, because it's not just going to be like, hey, a post, congrats, Melo. Like, it's going to be something in depth that you guys will definitely be a part of. So
Something legendary.
thank you, boys. Stay mellow, as always,
Stay mellow.
baby.